Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and as we approach Brexit Day, 4 weeks away now, it seems that we have an increasing number of Brexiteers, Brexit supporters, especially Brexit supporting MPs who are giving the impression that they are waking up to the realities of Brexit. And nowhere are those realities going to bite harder than in Northern Ireland. Of course, as one Conservative MP, member of the Northern Ireland Committee, found out this week. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So this largely involves an MP by the name of Bob Stewart, a Conservative MP, and so one who, of course, voted for and campaigned for the very, not just Brexit, the very hard Brexit that we are about to endure, whether or not we get a deal in the next few days. He's also a member of the Northern Ireland Committee, for reasons best known to himself, when he represents Beckenham, which is, I'm told, just outside London. A civil servant was giving evidence to the committee on which Mr. Stewart sits and mentioned that there could well be 11 million customs declarations needed for goods passing between Britain and Northern Ireland. Now, they did say the number was highly uncertain, and I would guess what they mean by that. Well, it's based on the current levels of trade. But of course, the new customs arrangements are likely to kill off a lot of that trade, which means that fewer declarations in reality will be needed. But 11 million is the figure forecast for what is known right now. Now, at this point, Stewart interrupted proceedings with incredulity, saying he had no idea it would be so high. No idea it would be so many. Which then begs the question, why not? I mean, wouldn't you expect an MP who has voted for and campaigned for Brexit to at least understand its implications? I mean, this isn't even new information based on anything complicated either. Like I said, what it'll be based on is current levels of trade. This is the current level of trade. These are the goods that are currently traded between Britain and Northern Ireland, for which there will have to be customs declarations from the 1st of January. Tot it up, it comes to 11 million. And it's also something that's been warned about for years, albeit denied by Stewart and his party, dismissed as Project Fear. Now, the thing is this. I expect a lot of Brexiteers in 2021 to shift from saying how great Brexit will be to saying how great it would have been if only the chimps in charge hadn't cocked it up. So, you know, Nigel Farage and co on his little bandwagon, once he switches over from his anti-lockdown bandwagon, or maybe he'll do a cut and short and weld the two together, I don't know. But for the chimps in charge, that's not such an easy option. Oh, it would have been brilliant if only we hadn't been in charge of it. It doesn't quite work there. So at which point then you think, well, what's their plan? Sure, they're going to blame the EU, but beyond that, really, for most people that are just going to go, well, we're out of the EU now. What? What are they going to do? They say they didn't realise? Why didn't they realise? They'll be asked. The Food and Drink Federation contacted dozens of British suppliers who trade food and drink to Northern Ireland from Britain. And they asked them about their trade between Britain and Northern Ireland after the end of the transition period. And they reported that about 4 out of 10 will either stop trading altogether or at least scale back operations. It actually works out at about 37% of there's the ones who are either just not going, currently trading with Northern Ireland, who are just not going to, or are going to scale it back. So as a direct result of Brexit, not only are we going to struggle to trade with other countries as easily as we do now, we won't even be able to trade with ourselves as easily as we do now. 20% of businesses said that they will be pausing trade altogether until they can get themselves compliant with the new rules, which is expected to take about 4 months. This, of course, exposes the fact that businesses simply haven't been given the information, resources, or the time to get ready for a relatively seamless transition to post-Brexit trade. Now, with any goods, of course, if that was for anything, you would be talking about a hit to our economy as a result of this lost trade, of course. But this is food we're talking about, food and drink. Now, as I've discussed in the past, and will doubtless do again, we can't just not have food traded, or even drastically reduced. This isn't the new iPhone we're talking about here. We need food. And at this point, I feel I'm going to have to say something I always seem to have to repeat, because sure enough, the last time I talked about this, which wasn't all that long ago, there were people writing in the comments, no problem, they'll just get their food from south of the border in the Republic of Ireland. To which I'm afraid, sorry if you're one of these people, I just have to be sarcastic, but there's no getting away from it. I had to say something like, that's great news, that's fantastic, because the food and drink industry in Northern Ireland was completely unaware that they've got the rest of Ireland to their south. You might need to tell them, then they can have a little bit of a rest, they can sleep at night soundly. You've got to ask yourself, why are politicians, and especially retailers, senior members of the food and drink industry in Northern Ireland, why are they extremely concerned if it's just as simple as, oh, we'll just buy it from there instead? You know, the food industry especially know what's going on. They know their industry. They are worried, deeply worried. They're talking about disasters. They're talking about massive food shortages. So it's not that simple after all. Over time, sure, trading habits can change, but it's not that simple to do overnight. Or do you know what? Would have already been done, wouldn't it? Because this is coming. What we're talking about here has got nothing to do with whether we get a deal or not. This is entirely down to customs arrangements. Deal or no deal. The deal or no deal is just tariffs. This is about customs declarations, regardless whether we get a deal. This is certain now. If it was as simple as changing your trading habits, they'd have already done it, or they'd be in the process and be going, don't sweat it, we've got it sorted. So that's 20% of businesses pausing trade in food and drink to get themselves ready, which can't be done in time for Brexit, but they at least are intending to start trading back up again when they can, in a few months' time they expect. Now, another 12%, in addition to the 20%, another 12% are considering stopping trade altogether. So these ones are more concerned not just about getting themselves legally ready to do so, that's part of it, but actually they're not even sure that afterwards it'll be commercially viable to do it. So that's about 32% now who are just going to be stopping trade altogether. They currently trade with Northern Ireland. That will end. For a few months at least. For some of them, might be forever. Come January the 1st. Now, again, for a commodity that we need and the need is for constant supply, that's quite serious. As I say, expected to be for a few months, but it could be for an unknown period of time. And then there's another 5% that said they were going to scale their trade back, that they're sort of ready for the 1st of January, but again, commercially, they're not going to be able to trade as much as they currently do. So that's 37% as it happens, a little bit under 4 in 10. That are going to at the very least scale back, and the majority of them stop altogether. And the survey also revealed the all too common problem with Brexit. Businesses don't know what to do in order to get themselves ready for when the transition period ends. For all the government's belly aching about, well, businesses need to get themselves ready, they haven't been supplying the information that they need. You know, they haven't been answering the industry's questions when they've had them. In echoes of what I was saying about the haulage industry this week, they've had the same treatment. Basically, what happens is we have a government that don't know what they're doing and can't for the life of them understand why people just don't sort it out for themselves. This is laissez-faire, small government-minded conservatives to the max. The extreme form of it, the purest form of it. Their ideology is against government involvement in people's lives and businesses. These people fundamentally believe that businesses don't want government interfering, which sounds fine. Until you see what this purest form of insanity means. It means not lifting a finger to help at all. Oh, your businesses want to trade next year. Great, we're all in favour of trade. Off you go. But how do we do that? Oh, that's up to you. We don't want to interfere. Party of business, my arse. Party of chaos and anarchy. Because that's exactly what you get when you remove government from its role in the nation. Part of the problem, which I've discussed before, is labelling in this particular case. So you're going to need different labelling for Britain and Northern Ireland from January. Now, this is enough of expense. I've already talked about this in the past. There's some businesses going, that's just going to be too expensive, can't do it. Or it's just a pain in the arse, and that's it. But for those who do want to struggle on, the time I was talking about it, the government hadn't, at that point, said what they needed to do. The industry gave them a deadline. We need to know by this date. That deadline came and went. Then the government actually gave the information needed. It was like a few days into November. they updated their guide. But that gave then, and then there was a deadline to get your registration identification numbers sorted automatically. It was like less than 3 weeks they gave them. That deadline's now gone. So there's a lot of businesses who don't have this number now, so they can't produce their labels. The deadline is now passed, so it now has to be done manually, which is going to take months. So they can't be ready. Not possible. You know, so we're told by these businesses that they need 4 months to sort themselves out now that the government have finally said what they need to do, but the process is too slow because the government didn't organise themselves until far too late. So this week, a pro-Brexit London-based Conservative MP who sat themselves on a Northern Ireland committee, for whatever reason, learned something of the nature of how badly Brexit is going to screw trade inside the UK. And they couldn't believe it. Were so taken aback that they inadvertently interrupted proceedings. Didn't mean to, they just blurted it out. They was that shocked. What happens as more and more people see what is obvious, what has been obvious to the rest of us for years? What's going to happen then? But there it is anyway. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.